Awesome. So welcome everyone to the Applying to UBC Engineering session. We are so happy to have you joining us here today. My name is Marie. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the Project Manager, Programs and Strategy for the School of Engineering at the UBC Okanagan campus. So both UBC campuses are built on lands that have been home to Indigenous people for thousands of years. I would like to acknowledge the land that UBC has built its Vancouver campus on, which we work, learn, connect, and innovate, is the unceded, ancestral, and traditional territory of the Musqueam peoples. Our Okanagan campus is situated in the territory of the Syilx Okanagan Nation and their peoples. I would also like to acknowledge that you are joining us today from many places near and far and acknowledge the traditional owners and caretakers of those lands. So we have a lot of information to share with you today. So before we get started, we just wanted to go over a few notes, just a few reminders of functions that will help customize your experience with us today. So if you are experiencing any audio issues, you can adjust these through the settings at the bottom of your screen using the microphone button. If you are unable to resolve the issues, please let us know and we can try to help you troubleshoot. As this is a webinar, you will not be able to unmute yourself or turn on your camera. However, you will be able to ask your questions through the Q&A. So this session is really designed for you. So please, throughout the presentation, feel free to click on that Q&A button. It looks like a little box with a question mark in it at the bottom of your screen. This is where you can ask us any questions that you have. We do have many people who are joining us today. So you also have the ability to upvote questions. So questions that you would really like answered, please upvote them so that they move to the top of the list. We also have lots of links available in our resource tab. That's the tab that looks like papers stacked on top of each other. So if you can access this at the bottom of your screen, and if you click on it, that will show you a list of resources. You can click on it and you can save those to your computer for later. I just wanted to note that when you click on it, you may actually see a warning saying that you're leaving Zoom, but it will actually open a link in a new tab and it won't cause you to exit the meeting, so you don't have to worry about that. Closed captioning is also available, and you can enable this by clicking on the closed captioning button at the bottom of your screen. And finally, if you're not able to stay with us for the entire session, a recording of this full session will be shared on our YouTube channels in the next few days. So today I am joined by several colleagues who you will hear from throughout the presentation. I'll be starting with a brief introduction to UBC Engineering. We won't be able to go into too many details today into everything we offer, but I'd recommend checking out our most recent presentation on YouTube if you want to learn more details about all the different things that UBC Engineering has to offer. Throughout the presentation, you may also see Franco and Aaron answering questions in the chat, and Franco will also be joining me on screen towards the end to help answer any engineering related questions. I'm also very excited to have Sean and Heidi here today with us, who are going to help answer any questions and really dive deep into that application process and admissions considerations today. So UBC Engineering is one of Canada's best engineering schools, which is consistently reflected in world university rankings. If you choose to join us at UBC, you'll be joining a university which is globally recognized for its excellence in teaching and research, as well as its global impact. World university rankings such as Times Higher Education ranks UBC as number 2 in Canada and within the top 50 universities or in the top 5% of all universities in the world, as well as number 1 in Canada for International Outlook. When we look at UBC Engineering specifically, for the last few years, Maclean's ranked UBC Engineering as number 2 engineering program in Canada based on program and research reputation. We're also home to the largest co-op program in Western Canada, where you have fantastic employer partnerships to set you up for success. Overall, if you join us at UBC, you'll be joining one of the top ranked universities in the world. So our degree at both campuses is called the Bachelor of Applied Science. You can study at our Okanagan campus, which is located in Kelowna, or at our Vancouver campus. The campuses are about a 4.5 hour drive apart or an hour flight apart. So while the feel of each campus is quite different, both engineering programs are equally prestigious and accredited, while you'll be learning from professors who are leaders in their fields. So students often ask us, how do I know which campus is right for me? And I really think this is a personal choice. Overall, we highly recommend that you begin at the campus you plan to finish at. So take the time to explore all the unique opportunities and lifestyles offered at both campuses and the surrounding areas. If you aren't able to visit the campus or the cities in person, that's totally okay. We have virtual campus tours available at both campuses, and you can also ask some of our current students questions through the Chat with a Student program. And as you'll soon hear, you can actually put two choices on your application to UBC. So you could actually put the Bachelor of Applied Science at both the Okanagan and the Vancouver campus on your application. So no matter which campus you start at, you're going to be starting in a foundational first year to learn about courses that are the foundation of your degree, which is engineering design, chemistry, physics, math, English, before continuing into your program and completing your degree at the campus you choose. You'll be introduced to the design cycle right away in your first year courses, where you will start to learn to think like an engineer. Throughout your first year, you will have the opportunity to learn more about each of the engineering programs offered at your campus by attending events, chatting with senior students and faculty. This really allows you to get a solid understanding of the program options available to you and a much better sense of which program is best aligned with your interest and aptitude. At both campuses, students select their program at the end of their first year through a process called second year placement. For now, as an applicant, you'll be simply applying to the degree, which is called the Bachelor of Applied Science. Ooh. At the Okanagan campus, we currently have 5 engineering programs that are shown here on this slide. At the Okanagan campus, engineering students are guaranteed placement in their first choice engineering program, which they're going to select at the end of their first year. The programs that are currently accepting new students include civil, computer, electrical, and mechanical engineering. At the Vancouver campus, there are 14 engineering programs for students to choose from. Placement into these programs are at the end of their first year, and this is a competitive process. And some of the programs may have additional requirements, such as an interview or specific course prerequisites. Overall, students will get much more information about the placement process and requirements throughout their first year through program fairs and the opportunity to meet upper year students and professors. In addition, select top applicants may also be offered guaranteed placement to one of our 13 undergraduate programs at the Vancouver campus, with the exception of engineering physics. Those that are offered guaranteed placement will be notified via email. As a reminder, this second year placement process happens at the end of your first year of study. So as an applicant, you'll be looking at applying to the Bachelor of Applied Science. So one of the best things about pursuing a Bachelor of Applied Science at UBC is the ability to customize your degree. We're not going to be spending too much time on this today. However, if you do want to learn more about the ways to customize your degree, you can check out our UBC Engineering Everything You Need to Know recording from a few weeks ago. That's on our YouTube page. As a quick overview for today, from the very start, you will be exposed to hands-on design projects where you work in teams with other first-year students. You'll have courses year after year that continue to build on those project-based team learning experiences, culminating in your final year with your capstone design project, where you and your peers work with industry partners to solve real-world problems. Students can also gain research experience in a variety of ways and be able to apply the knowledge they're learning in class in research labs. You may also choose to pursue a minor or a dual degree, which will allow a focus on a secondary area of study. You might also consider going abroad to work, research, or study in your third year. And maybe you'll find a passion by joining a design team where you can design and create projects outside of the classroom. Or you might be interested in co-op and gaining paid work experience throughout your degree. There's really so many different ways you can customize it, your degree. For today, we've added lots of different links related to this in our resources tab, so please feel free to check those out. And we also have several upcoming events this fall that will highlight many of these topics in more detail. So we hope to see you there at those upcoming events. So that's all for me for now. I'm going to pass it over to Sean and Heidi now, who are going to chat with all of you about admissions and the application process. Over to you.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Marie. That was really fantastic. So I'm Sean. I'm one of the advisors at the University of British Columbia on our Vancouver campus, and I'm going to talk a little bit about our admission process, and if you're thinking you want to join us on campus, how to get yourself here as a student. So first of all, I just wanted to mention that many of you are likely joining us as a high school student, maybe in your last year of high school, looking to start the application process. So this is what we call direct entry admission, where you come directly to UBC from high school. We do also have a number of options for students who may be beyond high school, and perhaps you've attended a post-secondary institution already, or perhaps you're thinking about going somewhere else first, so you could potentially apply as a transfer student as well. Generally speaking, you'd need to be completing at least 1, if not 2 years of post-secondary at another institution, and then you can start that application process. We also have a number of different pathways to get yourself to UBC Engineering. These are called engineering transfer pathways or partnerships. We have a number of partnerships with post-secondary institutions in the province of British Columbia, where you start your first year or even your first and second year at that other institution. And then there are some guaranteed pathways into UBC Engineering on either the Okanagan or Vancouver campus. So if you're looking at those options, please feel free to take a look at our engineering website under the transfer pathway option to learn a little bit more. So if you're thinking that UBC might be the right fit for you, there's a couple of things that you need to consider. The first is going to be choosing your campus and then also choosing the degree program as well. Now, on your UBC application, you do get a maximum of 2 degree choices. So you could be choosing 2 programs at our Okanagan campus, 2 in Vancouver, or 1 on each campus as well. And as Marie mentioned, you do have the option to choose engineering as both of your choices on your application as well. So perhaps you choose engineering at the Okanagan campus as your first choice and Vancouver as your second choice, or vice versa as well. So that's one thing you want to consider. The next is going to be the application dates and deadlines. So our application to UBC is going to be opening by the end of this week, so you can start that application process very soon. You want to make sure that you are meeting our deadlines. So January 15th is going to be the latest that students can apply to pretty much all of our degree programs at UBC. I'll also mention that many students are perhaps who are studying in Canada might have heard of what we call early admission. So we're actually moving away from that process this year. However, that's not to say that we're not going to be reviewing your applications early. So what we're actually doing is a bit more of a different process where we have ongoing admission, where as soon as we get your application and all of the required documentation to be able to make an assessment of your application, we will actually do so. Now, on your application to UBC as well, you don't need to immediately submit all of your documents. So that would be transcripts or your English language test scores and those types of things. The deadline to submit most of those documents is going to be March 15th. But once you've submitted your application to UBC, we will actually follow up with you within a couple of days just to let you know what exactly we need from you so that you're going to be submitting the right documents at the right time as well. Now, many of you are also joining us from many different places throughout the world, and you're perhaps following different curricular or high school coursework that you're going to be doing. So we just wanted to let you know that we do have a specialist who evaluate your applications depending on where you're coming from and whichever curriculum you're going to be following. Now, the admission requirements may also be slightly different depending on which curricula you follow. So on our website, you'll be able to take a look at all of those particular admission requirements. Now, our website, you.ubc.ca, is a really fantastic resource to know exactly what you're going to need to be able to be eligible for admission consideration to any of our degree programs, of course, including the Bachelor of Applied Science in Engineering. So for our Canadian high school students, if you're studying inside of Canada at the moment, we do have a specific webpage where you can select the province that you're coming from, the degree that you want to go into, and the campus as well. And then it'll be able to tell you all of the requirements based on the provincial curriculum that you're going to be following. We do also have a section for international high school students. So if you're studying outside of Canada, there is a section that you can choose the country that you're studying in, and it's also going to tell you the specific requirements for each campus and each degree program as well. And then I will also just mention that we do have several different processes for students. One of those is for specifically International Baccalaureate Diploma students. If you're doing the IB Diploma in Canada, generally speaking, that's what you're going to want to select on your application. And we're going to review your application for admission based on the curriculum that you're following. If you're doing IB single courses, you'll also want to let us know that you're doing a provincial curriculum in Canada. We'll be evaluating your application based on the provincial curriculum, but then we will also take into consideration those IB courses that you're going to be taking. Now, if you're also doing the IB exam, so you write a final exam and you get a final score for them, you may also be eligible for first-year transfer credit for some of your higher level or possibly even some of your standard level courses as well, depending on the final grade that you receive. Now, we do have a great website for this as well, so if you wanted to know more about what types of transfer credit may be eligible to you, you can take a look at our website. Now, for international students as well, so if you're studying outside of Canada and doing the full IB diploma, again, we will evaluate your application based on that particular curriculum. We'll be reviewing your IB anticipated or predicted grades for admission purposes to make sure that we can make the best decision for you as well. And with that said, I'm going to hand it over to Heidi to talk a little bit more about our processes.
Thank you so much, Sean. Welcome, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. So I'll start by outlining a few other requirements as well. And as Sean mentioned, our website is such a great resource because, of course, we know many of you are attending today from all over Canada and all over the world. And so we won't be able to dive into each of your respective curricula in detail today, but we're going to outline some of the ones that we know are quite common. So we'll start with we started with the International Baccalaureate in Canadian, but we'll continue on into the American curriculum. And so we do want to see 4 years of English, literature, and composition type courses to the senior level, and these are non-ESL courses, 3 years of mathematics to at least the junior level, and achieve a minimum grade of B- in English courses at the junior level. Although it's not required, we do encourage students taking the US curriculum around the world to present a minimum of 6 academic grade 12 courses. Some of you might be familiar, of course, with the SAT or ACT tests. So these are standardized tests that commonly are presented with a US curriculum. However, UBC is not requiring that. So if you would like to take an SAT or ACT test and have it considered in your holistic application at UBC, you can certainly submit that in the Applicant Service Center where you would be uploading your documents after applying. But you are not required. So you can also upload a document that says you are choosing not to submit an SAT or ACT test. Now, for UBC's institution code, that is 0965, and for ACT, the institution code is 5259. You don't have to remember any of those, of course, though, because again, our website is a great resource. So you can go and look where Sean outlined and apply now and use the US curriculum for the respective campus and the Bachelor of Applied Science, and it'll give you all of that information that you may need. Some students are a little curious about, well, what would be a competitive SAT or ACT test for the applied sciences? So there is a range, of course, and again, it's a holistic application review by UBC. But if you are choosing to submit a standardized test, you would be looking at a range of 1350 plus for the SAT. And for most competitive programs like the Bachelor of Applied Science, you'd be looking at 1400. And a respective ACT of 2930. As Sean mentioned, for the IB, AP, advanced placement courses are quite common with the US curriculum, as well as other curriculum that you may be also taking advanced placement. And those are eligible for first year credit depending on the test results. So as Sean mentioned for the IB, we do have a wonderful resource that talks about first year credit or first year standing in terms of those evaluations of curriculum in high school that do have the equivalency of a first year academic course. So please do know that we are fully equipped to recognize advanced placement, and you may be getting transfer credit depending on your scores. So a few other things, of course, when we're looking specifically at engineering or the Bachelor of Applied Science is we do want to see pre-calculus. And in the US, we know science sequencing can be a little different than what we see presented in British Columbia or in Canada and what our equivalencies are. So for example, we do want to see typically, if we can, 2 years, full years of chemistry, 2 full years of physics. In the American curriculum, that may be hard to do because of the way the sciences are offered at your school. So a way to accommodate that is the advanced placement courses, because those we do recognize, again, are very broad in their learning skills and something that would give you the equivalency of 2 years. So you could take AP Chemistry or 2 full years of chemistry, or again, AP Physics 2 or C, and that would give you the equivalency of 2 full years of physics. And I'll move on here to the next slide, which is for those of you studying in the British pattern education. And so for students studying in this pattern, you'll need to present standing in at least 6 academic subjects, including English, and at least 3 academic A levels or 6 AS levels. We're looking for a minimum grade of C in English literature or English language at the GCSE or AS or A level, and some additional degree requirements. So that's where, again, the resource on the website is very helpful because you put in the campus applied science and your curricula, and it'll give you some more insight into those degree specific requirements. So for example, for British pattern, we're looking for GCSE chemistry and physics, math A level, a level of chemistry or A level chemistry or A level physics, but we do want to say preference may be given to applicants who present both A level chemistry and A level physics. Again, because that just gives you such a strong foundation to really set you up for success in your first year at UBC. Similar to IB and the AP classes, some first year credit is awarded from courses on final A level or courses. So please do again check that on our website. For those studying in the French Baccalaureate program or the OIB international option of the French Bac, when you're applying to a Bachelor of Applied Science at UBC, you want to be ensure that you're tracking to complete the requirements. So mathematics speciality in premier and terminal year, and physique chimie or specialty in the premier and terminal year. And so those will be really helpful, again, to review on our specific website too. Now, of course, we know many of you are joining from different countries, and again, we can't dive into each of them respectively, but as Sean mentioned earlier, our advisors are experts at looking at different curricula and how to evaluate you on a holistic basis for our admissions process. So please do know that wherever you are in the world, we are very well versed at assessing your local high school curriculum. And so please don't worry about that. But if you do have questions, of course, we'll be able to answer those a little bit later today. And I'll pass it back to Sean.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Heidi. So if you're thinking that starting the application process might be the right fit for you to join us at UBC, our application is done through a platform called Education Planner BC or EPBC, which is a common application in the province of British Columbia. So not only can you apply to UBC through this platform, but other post-secondary in the province of British Columbia at the same time as well. So we're going to be asking you for some information about where you've gone to school, how long you've gone there, which degree programs you're looking at. And on the UBC application, we do have something a little bit unique or special. The first thing is going to be your personal profile. So the personal profile is a series of short answer questions, sort of like an essay that you're going to have to write as part of your application to UBC. So there are 6 questions, and we do actually post them on our website as well. So if you're looking to know more before you even start the application process, again, you.ubc.ca is a really great resource for all of that information. Now, on the personal profile, what we're generally looking for is you to tell us about the things that you've done outside of the classroom. So this could be anything from a part-time job, maybe a volunteer experience, getting involved in a sport or drama. It's really up to you to decide to tell us about what you've done outside of the classroom. So there's no right or wrong answer to the activities that you've been involved in. What we want is actually to get to know you and who you are outside of the classroom and outside of your academics as well. So when I think about this exercise or this personal profile, the things that I'm thinking about are, well, what have you actually gotten involved in throughout high school? And generally speaking, you want to be talking about the last 1 or 2 years prior to applying to UBC. The next thing you want to perhaps think about is, well, so what? Why did you get involved in those activities in the first place? And then again, now what? What do you want to do with those activities in the process of doing them? So we're really trying to get to know you as a student, again, outside of those academics. Now, we do also offer, for most students studying inside of Canada, we do offer application workshops that are done usually once or twice a month throughout the fall. So if you're looking to know more about how to get started with those, you could potentially register on our website to join us. They take about an hour and a half. They're done virtually, and you can learn about the process and then also brainstorm a little bit about how to get started on your profile as well. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Heidi again.
Thank you, Sean. So that's great information. Of course, the personal profile is a very important part of your application. And we want to highlight something else in terms of admission requirement that we have that's also quite important. And it's our language of instruction at UBC is in English. And so we do have a requirement called the English Language Admission Standard. So for those of you studying in Canada, you will automatically meet this, and being in that your school's language of instruction is English and that you may have, of course, been here for more than 4 years. But for those of you that are joining us from around the world in Canada to complete your high school, or you are studying outside of Canada, we do need to see that you have studied in a language instruction for 4 years to meet that in that requirement. And we have 9 other ways to meet it. If you are not studying for 4 years and say within Canada or in an international curriculum where your language of instruction is English, and most commonly, and you'll see that on the screen here, is met through a test of English, such as IELTS or TOEFL. There are many other ways though, and those are described again on our website under Apply Now, and you'll see that under the English Language Admission Standard. And so it's really helpful, of course, to be able to recognize that that is a potential additional piece for some of you. So you want to take a look at how you might be meeting that, and then make sure that if you are going to meet it through a test, that you plan ahead, because sometimes around the world that these tests do have not as many sittings as you may anticipate, or they may already be full. So you want to ensure that you're trying to take that test ahead of time. For those that are needing a little bit of additional support in their academic English, we do have some pathway programs. So these are programs that our admissions evaluators will automatically consider you looking at your application, your curricula, and your test results. As we mentioned on that first slide there, you saw some that meant direct entry and some that talked about a pathway. These are just to make sure that you as a student are well set up for success. So for example, UBC Vantage 1 is a program at our Vancouver campus, and it's a first year where you would receive, in addition to your academic studies, a little bit of extra focus on your English abilities. At the Okanagan campus, we have the English Foundation program, which is another opportunity that admissions may consider you if your first choice is the Bachelor of Applied Science at the Okanagan and not the Vancouver campus. And that again offers you some additional focus on English abilities in your courses and a reduced course load, just to make sure again that you're very successful in your first year. Some of you may also see in your admissions process a recommendation for the conditional admissions process program, which is CAP. And that is a way for students who need just a little bit of extra focus right before the September term starts. And so you are asked to come to study at our Vancouver campus and prepare to retake that test of English. And with those test results, then be able to flow right into your first year at UBC Vancouver's campus. So hopefully that gives a little bit more information on some ways that our admissions process works around the English and your academics, and know that our evaluators are just trying to ensure that you are set up for success. So if you do get one of those offers and you may not expect it, that's the rationale for that. And you don't have to apply differently. They will offer you what is best for you in your first year. And now I'll pass it back over to Sean.
All righty, thank you, Heidi, again. So just to round out our presentation here today, I just wanted to let you know that we do evaluate your applications very thoughtfully, and I just wanted to give you a bit more information about how we do that for when you've actually submitted your application overall. So the first thing that we're looking at on your application to UBC is going to be your overall academic performance. And what we actually look for in admission is all of the academic courses that you've completed in both grade 11 and grade 12. So that would include everything that you've taken over those 2 years that are considered academic in nature. Now, some of our programs also have specific courses that may be a little bit more relevant to their particular degree program and success in that particular program. So for example, with engineering, things like your mathematics, your biology, chemistry, physics are going to probably be a little bit more important for admission as well. And we'll take a little bit closer look at those courses in the application process. Now, in addition to the academic performance, we do look at that supplementary application information. And generally speaking, that's going to be your personal profile. So that short essay that I talked about a little bit earlier. So the personal profile can actually mean the difference between getting into UBC and not. So you do want to make sure that you're also putting in as much effort as you can into that profile, because it certainly can mean the difference in success in gaining admission to our programs at UBC. So what we do is we take all of your academic performance, including those subject areas that are related to your program. We combine that with the supplementary information, such as the personal profile, and we make our competitive admission decision on your application to UBC. So overall, we're looking at a variety of components. And as Heidi had mentioned earlier, we are sort of a holistic process, and we look at a lot of different components of your academic performance and otherwise as well. So with that said, I'll hand it back over to Marie.
Thank you so much, Sean and Heidi, for sharing all of those steps in the application process and admissions. I know we're now at the part of the presentation where we get to answer questions from everyone who's attending. And I can see that there's questions here already coming into the Q&A. So thank you everyone who has already been submitting. For those of you who might have joined a little bit late, if you would like to ask a question, there's a Q&A box at the bottom of the screen with a little question mark in it. You can click on that and you can submit any questions that you would like. There is many people here today, so please also look at some of the questions that have been submitted, and you can upvote questions that you would like to be answered first. So we're going to just dive right in here now. Franco, do you have a question that's ready?
Yeah, let's get started. Hey, everyone. My name is Franco, as mentioned earlier. I work here with the UBC Engineering team. And yeah, let's get started and let's start diving into some of the questions that you've submitted. So when I take a look at the Q&A box right now, I think our most upvoted question right now is, maybe I'll direct this question to either Sean or Heidi. Let me know, whoever wants to take this. So the question is, how much weight is given to personal profile essays compared to grades? So Sean, I think you covered a little bit about that earlier, but if we can just reiterate that again for our attendees.
Yeah, maybe I can take the first question here. So, the personal profile is certainly a very important part of the application, as and I mentioned just a few moments ago. It can mean the difference between getting into a UBC program and not. So, I would say put as much effort as you can into this personal profile. Be thoughtful about it. Be reflective. Tell us about what you've been doing, and then combine that with strong academic performance, and that's how we're going to be making our admission decision. So, unfortunately, I can't give you a specific weighting for the personal profile, but please make sure you understand that it can actually make a big difference in the overall success of your application to UBC.
Amazing. Thanks, Sean. So hopefully that answers your questions. Let us know if you have any follow-ups on that. Moving on to the next question. Now, this question is more about AP tests. Our guest has submitted a question saying, hey, I took various AP tests last year and I received good scores, so congratulations. If I submit those, will that help my application a little bit? Thank you.
I can jump in here
go
and
ahead.
provide some support around that. And of course, Sean, please join me if you have more insights to share in addition. And so, of course, when you do apply, you're applying with your curricula, and that's the basis of admission for the Bachelor of Applied Science at both of our campuses for your respective application. And then if you have done advanced placement, it sounds like you have great scores. So like Franco said, congratulations, that's fantastic. And it will certainly be included in the holistic review of your specific application. Now, if some of those courses are required for you, they would be included in the overall average. If they are ones that are in addition and looking for first year credit, but they aren't necessarily required, then they wouldn't necessarily increase your average, but in some ways they do, because as Sean mentioned, we look at breadth, rigor, and relevancy. So as students are taking on challenges, they are really looking at applying themselves and their efforts and energies not into just their favorite courses, but to the spectrum of the courses that they're taking. It really does show a lot of effort and energy and attention that you as a student are giving your studies. And that is very recognized in the evaluation process. So I do, as they say, congratulations, and encourage you to make sure that you do have your test results submitted to UBC, so that the admissions process can include those in your evaluation.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Heidi. All right, going back to our Q&A box. All right, the next question I see here is regarding early applications. And what does that mean? So are the early application considerations specific to domestic applicants, or does that apply to our international applicants as well?
Do you want me to take a stab at it, and then Heidi can add anything if she needs to? So although the early application, or what we used to call first round offers of admission, the process has changed slightly in terms of not having a specific deadline. We do review applications in the same way. So as soon as your application for admission has all of the information that we're going to need to make an assessment, we will do so. And this is actually for both students studying inside of Canada and outside of Canada as well. So although the process for students inside of Canada has changed a little bit, so if you're following a Canadian curriculum, that deadline is no longer December 1st. It's just apply as early as you can, and we'll make a decision. For students studying outside of Canada, the process actually hasn't changed, and we're still going to evaluate your application as soon as we have all of the information that we need.
Thanks, Sean. Heidi, anything to add?
No, the only other thing that we may add on the international side of things is if you are being nominated by your school for an international scholars program, there is that November deadline for that. So that's a deadline that's a little earlier than the rest in terms of making sure that you apply. And that is a part of a package. So it's a conversation with your guidance counselor or college counselor, or perhaps teachers at your school to see if they are nominating you. And that application just needs to be a little earlier. Otherwise, as Sean mentioned, it is an ongoing basis. So as soon as the applicant has submitted all of the required pieces, then our evaluators, as Sean mentioned, will start to make sure that they'll be able to provide you an update as soon as possible.
Awesome. Thanks, Heidi. Yeah, so if you are wondering what that International Scholars Award that Heidi has mentioned, I encourage you to visit our financial planning website. So that is one of the websites that you can see on our resources page. Click on that and you should be able to link into another page, which talks a little bit more about the major scholarships we have for international students. So you can find that again in our resources page. All right, thank you. Let's go back to our Q&A box. Okay, so next question. This is more related to English language requirements. We had mentioned and talked a little bit about that earlier. The question is, if I submit that later, so that is the English requirement. If I submit that later in mid-December, will my application review process start after that?
Yeah, really
Heidi, go
great
ahead.
question. And as Sean and I mentioned, because admissions has to wait until you have submitted all the required pieces for your respective application, that would be true. So as soon as you complete that and submit your official test score to support your application, that's when we would consider your application complete and it can move into the evaluation phase. So we do have that deadline for English language admission standards to be met, and that is February 15th. So you do want to make sure you submit those tests before then. But if it sounds like you have maybe the aspiration to have it done in December, that's fantastic. And that would mean that as soon as we have your required documents, we would be able to move you into that evaluation phase. So it would require that piece to be with your package.
Amazing. Yes. So if you can, submit as soon as possible. But if not, February 15th is your date to note. And also, again, if you need more information, again, that English language requirements website is also in our resources tab as well. Marie, I did see you unmute. Do you have a question you want to bring up?
Yeah, I figured maybe give Sean and Heidi a little bit of a break here, and I have actually a question for you about that came up about the 14 different engineering programs at the Vancouver campus. This student was wondering about which 5 are the most competitive right now.
So yeah, I can definitely start answering that question. So yeah, we do have, of course, the 14 different programs offered at the Vancouver campus. One thing that I want to reiterate is how students choose their engineering disciplines. So here at UBC Engineering, either at the Vancouver or the Okanagan campus, you will be starting in that foundational first year, right? So as Marie had mentioned earlier in the presentation, that foundational first year, of course, is your year to build up on some of those essential skills that you will need as you go throughout your degree. So, right, you're taking those courses in engineering design, physics, chemistry, math, English, before wrapping up your first year and then choosing your discipline. So at the Vancouver campus, it is a competitive process. So the engineering program placement process typically starts around mid-March. So what that process looks like is students will be asked to fill out the engineering program placement form. And on there, they will be asked to rank their preferred engineering disciplines. Now, of course, each of those engineering disciplines, it is based on competition. So after students submit their program placement form and also submit their personal statement, then the staff will go back and they'll evaluate all the students, and then students will be placed into the specific programs. So when we're talking about competition, traditionally, when we take a look at academic averages over the last few years, I would say the most competitive based on academic average, we're looking at engineering physics, computer engineering, mechanical engineering are amongst the top 3. What I can also do is I can also share with you the program page to let you know about what that a few more details about what that process looks like. So you can read up on it if you're interested in learning more. But that is something that most students will, of course, start looking into, usually once they're in first year with us. And then, of course, throughout your first year, you're going to get a lot more information about the different disciplines. Maybe you can find a good fit for you then as well. So I'll drop that link in the chat too. Oh, and
Thanks so
I
much,
think the last thing that maybe I'll add to that is also remember with the Okanagan campus, engineering program placement is guaranteed as well. So that could also be something that maybe helps you determine which campus is the best fit for you.
Thanks so much, Franco. While you're dropping those links into the chat, I do have a couple questions here that I see that are all on the same theme for Heidi and Sean. And that's really understanding this ongoing admissions process and what this means. So there's two very related questions. The first one is, does ongoing admission mean we can be accepted shortly after we apply? And then the question that's related is will rejection decisions be made part of the rolling process, or will UBC wait for more grade 12 grades later in the school year?
Yeah, great question. Um, so we will not reject any students based solely on grade 11 marks. So generally speaking, if you're applying in, let's say, November and you're still in first semester of grade 12 and we don't have any final results from that first semester, we will review your application based on grade 11. However, if we can't make a decision or if we don't have enough grade information or there's something missing, what we will do is we'll still wait until we get your grade 12 marks for generally your first semester or term 2 if you're on a linear system in BC, and we will take another look at your application. So there's no worry about applying early in the context of being refused early. We're not looking to get rid of students from the application process based on grade 11. We want to make sure that we're giving you the best opportunity to put your academics forward. To make sure we're making the most appropriate decision for your application. And sorry, I think I missed the first part of your question. What was the first question again?
What does ongoing admission mean, and can we be accepted shortly after we apply?
Yeah, so absolutely. So if we have all of the information that we need from you as soon as you apply, so let's say again you apply mid-November, and by a week after you've applied, we have all of the grade information we need from you. We will actually take a look at your application to see if we can offer you admission. And again, just going back to that, we won't refuse you based on that point in time, but we'll make sure that we're taking a look as early as we can to make a decision to potentially give you an offer of admission early. And I don't know,
And
Heidi,
just
I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to add. No, great.
I just was gonna say, and as a reminder as well, if UBC Admissions is looking at your application, they feel like you're missing any documents or they need more information from you, they will reach out. So make sure that you watch your email for any reach out from UBC Admissions, whatever email you put on that application, make sure you're checking that regularly, just in case they're reaching out to ask for any other additional documentation or to clarify anything within your application. So yeah, no worries around that. If you apply early, or if you decide you would like to apply early, you may receive a response early, or you might just receive a couple additional questions. There is a specific question from a student who says, for students with a January to December school year, do we apply December of grade 11 or December of grade 12?
I can jump in with that one. So essentially, when students are in, say, January to December school year, you would be applying in the same year that you're completing, if that is your intention to start the following year. You do have a bit of a longer gap between when you finish your high school program in December and the start of UBC's next intake, which is September the following year. So that does mean that you have a little bit of time. And you would be applying and you would want to apply so in your senior year in that case. And you'll apply and have your documentation. So this is kind of again in line with that previous answer about where, would we be rejected on early information on grade 11. You would be applying and uploading your most recent transcript. And then as soon as you may have an update to that. So for example, if you apply in this month and you know that you in your transcript don't have your final grades, your final completion, because that would be in December and those may not be available to January, then you would upload those completed documents after you have them available to you. Similarly for a US curriculum student, so you would be applying in your senior year, your final year, or grade 12 year. And when you have a mid-year report available to you at the end of January, early February, you would upload that update. So that allows the admissions team to see your either completed document if you're finishing in December, and your final grades and confirmation of graduation, or for those that are in a continuation year, so that your year is going until June, that it would show your updated grades and it would show that first term of grade 12. And that's really helpful for the admissions process, especially for those that are applying to the Bachelor of Applied Science, because they are wanting to see what are you taking in your senior year to look for those requirements around those physics, chemistry, and potentially pre-calculus, of course, too. Sean, anything else you might add around that one?
No, that's great.
Awesome. Thank you so much, both. Okay, going back to our Q&A box. Right now, I'm looking at, again, the most upvoted question. So the next question we have here is, can we understand or explain to students the UBC website, which states 70% as a minimum average when 70% is not a competitive average? So I guess to sum up that question, I guess can we talk a little bit more about what minimum average means versus the competitive average?
Sure, I can start us off. So, generally speaking, many of our programs are getting many more applications than we can actually accept for admission to each of our programs each year. This would be including our engineering programs on both campuses. So, although we do post what we call minimum admission requirements, and those are the minimum grades you would need to be considered for admission. So if a student is presenting a 70%, they can be considered for admission to all of our programs. However, that doesn't mean your application for admission is going to be competitive, because we're comparing your overall grades and grades in specific courses to each of the other applicants who are applying to the same degree program as you as well. So generally speaking, the competitive requirements are quite a bit higher for many of our programs. I think Erin might have answered one of the questions about what those competitive grades look like. So if you want to go into the answered questions, you can take a look at sort of the ranges for competitiveness there. It does differ depending on our degree program. Some are more competitive than others, and I think engineering is up there with one of the most competitive as well. So just considering you want to do as well as possible in high school, and that's going to be both grade 11 and grade 12, do your best. Put as much effort as you can into that personal profile, and then submit your application to UBC, and we'll take a look to see if we can offer you admission overall.
Awesome. Heidi, anything to add to that? No? All good? All right. Thanks, Sean. All right. So going back to our Q&A box. Oh, we have a question here kind of regarding documents for scholarships. So question is, do I need to submit additional documents for scholarship consideration before or after my main application?
Maybe I'll start off for the international side, and I know that there's some additional pieces for sure for our domestic and Canadian curriculum students. For those that are in the international curriculum, the one that you would need to submit additional pieces for is that International Scholar Program. And that's again the one that requires a nomination package from your school and additional items to be included in that. Otherwise, we don't ask for anything in addition to be considered for what we call as merit scholarships. So for both campuses, we have Outstanding International Student Awards. That's a one-time award towards the first year of tuition. And we have the International Major Entrance Scholarship, which is a renewable award with some criteria as you continue through your years in the Bachelor of Applied Science at either campus. And that so is an award that would go towards tuition each year of your studies. For the Okanagan campus, we also have two unique ones that are specific to that campus, and that is the Okanagan Welcome Award. It's a one-time award in the first year, and the Global Elevation Award, which is a renewable award for international students. And all of those can be in conjunction with each other or standalone. So for the scholarships, the only one for international that you would have to have additional pieces for is that International Scholars Program. And there are 4 different awards within that that the evaluation committee will consider you. You don't have to identify which of the 4, but you would apply with that nomination package. And then I'll let Sean speak to some of the ones in the domestic.
Yeah, so we have a couple of different awards for students studying inside of Canada that have Canadian citizenship or permanent residency. One of the awards is called our Presidential Scholars Award, and all you need to do to be considered for that is apply by December 1st, and you're automatically considered. There are a couple of financial need-based awards, and we also have some awards specific for Indigenous students or also for Black Canadians. Those do require separate applications. They are also due by December 1st as well, and they do require quite a bit of information in terms of references and letters that you may need to write and other financial statements and documents and things like that. So you do want to start that process early, and it doesn't necessarily matter which application you submit first, but generally speaking, for us to be able to identify your scholarship application, you'll have to have an application to UBC as well. So I generally recommend do the UBC application first and then submit your scholarship just slightly after that. But again, they both are due on December 1st as well. And again, if you wanted to know more information, that website we've talked about throughout the presentation, you.ubc.ca, has some great resources there for scholarship information as well.
I might just add one follow-up piece as well, and that for the ones that don't require additional pieces, for those of you looking at potential merit awards, and really do know that the personal profile plays a big part. So as Sean mentioned, it is important in admissions, but it is also important in the evaluation for scholarships. So please do take some time on that personal profile and make sure that you're accurately reflecting all of the wonderful things that you do and you aspire to in your goals and that you reflect on, because it does have an important part as well.
Awesome, amazing. Thank you both. I'm just looking at the time. We got 3 minutes left. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the last three most upvoted questions. I'm going to take two of them, and then Heidi and Sean will give you one of those. And we're going to try and answer these questions in 30 seconds or less. Does that sound good? All right, let's do this. So, excuse me. So when I look at the first question, I mentioned that students can choose one specific engineering. Does this depend on your first year GPA? Does getting a higher GPA in your first year allow you to enter a more competitive major? So yeah, I would encourage you to take a look at that engineering program placement website that I linked earlier. When we're looking at grade requirements and academics, yes, it is going to be looking at your first year engineering courses. So it won't be considering anything you've done before that. So yes, it will be based on your engineering courses or first year courses. And then also, of course, the personal statement plays a part into that. And then also, to add a third part to it, some specific disciplines may also have specific requirements as well. So again, I don't have the time right now to be able to go through all of those details, but I do encourage you to visit that engineering program placement website to get those specific details on that. Okay, next question. Okay, so Sean and Heidi, I wonder if you can help me answer this question. So marks for non-academic courses. The examples here written in are textiles, robotics, etc. Are marks for non-academic courses considered in your application? Does it depend on the relevance of the program that you are applying for?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for non-academic courses, the percentage grades or the grades that you're receiving in those courses are not considered in the academic average that we calculate. However, as Heidi mentioned, because we used a holistic process for admission, we have something called breadth and depth, where if you've taken courses that are outside of the realm of those academic-based courses, we're still looking at those in the admission process because we want to see that you've maybe gone into something that you're really interested in and passionate about. So if textiles is something that you really like and really enjoy, although it won't be considered in the academic average, it still can be looked at for admission to our UBC programs as well. So it can count and it can make a difference in your application overall. So we always encourage you to, of course, take some of those required courses that are going to be required for a degree program at UBC, but then also supplement that with some of the other courses that may be outside of the realm of the academics that you might be interested in and passionate about as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Sean. So I would also put a plug in. So if there is a resource in our page there, what we look for. So if you're interested in learning more about how UBC evaluates your application, definitely check out the What We Look For website down there. Okay, the last question I'm going to get to here is, can we go more in depth about co-op? Is it an additional year? Are there any additional requirements? So I think this is a great plug for our next slide. So if you're interested in learning more about co-op, we have a session about that. So on October 16th, we are hosting our paid experience with impact session. That is a general session to share a little bit more information about how our co-op program looks like, how it's structured, eligibility. And we're also going to be bringing some of our current students who are involved in co-op as well. So if you're interested in learning more about that, how UBC can help build up your resume and help get you that real world work experience while you're still a student, sign up for our session happening on October 16th. Now, if you take a look on the screen, of course, we also have a couple other sessions there. On the 24th, we do have a parent and supporter information night. So if you have some, if you're parents, or maybe you're a parent or supporter yourself and you're interested in learning more, join us on October 24th for our session. And also a couple other shout outs there. November 1st is our UBC Okanagan Engineering Open House that is on campus. So if you want to check out our Okanagan campus and all the opportunities for engineering students there, visit them on November 1st. On November 14th, we have our virtual program fair. So if you're interested in learning about all the different disciplines offered across both campuses, join us on November 14th. That will be a virtual session. And then on November 18th and 19th, we do have some additional Ask Me Anything sessions. So if you do have any other final questions before you submit your application, join us then on the 18th and 19th for our Ask Me Anything sessions. All right. Anything else? Anyone wants to add before we wrap up? No? Alrighty. Well, thank you everyone for joining us here. Thank you, Marie, Aaron, Heidi, and Sean for joining us here today and answering all these questions from our students. If you do have any follow-up questions, all of our contacts and additional resources are on the screen right now. So you can take a quick screenshot of that. Let us know if you have any follow-up questions. But if we don't have anything else to share, we're going to wrap up the session right now. Thank you again for taking the time to join us here today. Wish you all the best in your applications. And we hope to see you on campus soon. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining.